Hello, I'm Brita, Web Mistress of the Dark. Today I'm going to show you how to make one of my creepy cuisine contest winners from my parties. This is one that one of my guests brought and won the contest. Very clever. We're going to make a cheese ball. You can use any recipe you like if you have one that's a cheese log or a cheese ball that you put together and mold into a shape. It has to be able to hold its form. The trick is you're going to use either a bottomless wine glass or a jar that's curved so that you can set it over a battery tea light. And then of course you have to cut out the face, otherwise you can't see the glow. So first we're going to go ahead and mix up the cheese. We have 2 bricks of cream cheese, so those are going in. Plop. 1 and 2. Set those out of your way. We have 8 ounces of a spreadable cheddar cheese. And we open that. Put that in, all of it. This can be any brand you like, as processed or not, but I think most of them are probably going to be processed if it has this texture at room temperature. Besides, all these need to be at room temperature before you mix them together, otherwise it's going to be a mess. We're going to add about 2 to 3 ounces of crumbled blue cheese for some extra flavor, 1 tablespoon of onion flakes, and we're going to have 1 to 2 teaspoons of Worcester sauce. It depends on how you'd like it to taste. So I'll go ahead and mix all those up in the mixer. So before I put the Worcester sauce in, I'm going to combine these together. Slowly at first so the flakes don't fly around. You need to make sure it all really gets mixed in. You might have some clumps going on with the big bricks of cream cheese that were in here. And you'll notice this is a little pale for pumpkin orange because we have so much white cream cheese versus the cheddar that we have in here. So I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit of food coloring so we have bright pumpkin orange for our jack-o'-lantern cheese ball. I'm going to go ahead and add the Worcester sauce in now as well. When I've put 2 teaspoons for this batch. And we mix it again. Okay, we obviously need to do some scraping down here. All my red's stuck in one spot. But it's definitely looking more pumpkin-y now. Okay, make sure everything's mixed together. And you'll notice that since we've whipped this so much and everything was at room temperature, it's pretty easily spreadable. It's about the consistency of a good buttercream frosting, actually. So that's just right for spreading, but we're going to also need to chill it before we can completely finish this. Now that our cheese mixture is completely spreadable and as orange as we want it to be, now we're ready to make the effect. So as I mentioned before, you need to find a jar or a stemless wine glass perhaps, something that has curvature for you. If you use maybe a juice glass, if you have a flat bottom with a corner, it's going to be a lot harder to make a pumpkin shape for you. So I like these round jars. These are from the chili sauce I use all the time with cream cheese. And make sure that obviously it fits over the light you're going to use. Details, details. Don't want to do all that work and not have it fit over the light. So we don't need the light. What I'm going to do to make, you need to set this over the light on your serving tray for a final presentation. So I'm going to use the lid from the 8 ounces of spreadable cheddar cheese, and I'm putting some foil over that just so I know I can take it off of the lid later, and this is hopefully going to help me hold it without messing up the cheese too much after it's all solid. So while we're spreading it, we can hold on to the jar. I'm going to just take my offset spatula and start spreading the cheese all over the jar. Just like you're frosting a cake. And when you're just getting it on, I'm not worrying too much about shape yet. I'm just making sure I have coverage first. And then I'm going to worry about shape as the final step. Now remember that pumpkins, they curve around the bellies, right? But on the top, when they come in for the stem to come out. So that's why I'm not so worried about the shape of this jar. I think this curve is going to be great. Okay, before I get too far, I want to talk about the face, because you have to make sure this is going to have somewhere that the glow can show. Otherwise it's not a jack-o'-lantern, it's just a pumpkin. Of course you can do just a pumpkin cheese ball, that's really cute too. But you don't need the jar inside if you're going to do that. It can be all cheese and just make it in the pumpkin shape, put a stem, and there you go. So we have this much so far, half of it. Now I'm going to set that down carefully. And of course you can use a knife and cut your own face however you like. I'm going to use some cutters just because I have them and they're fun. I have some jack-o'-lantern face cutters that are modular faces with, you know, which mouth, nose, eyes you want to use. I also have some mini cutters. This one's a bat that you can use upside down as a cute little mouth. Same thing for this moon. You can also turn that upside down to be a mouth. It's pretty cute. So, and of course, cut your own if you like. This is one mouth already made. Use a thick piece of hard cheese. Something that's definitely hard and stable and solid at room temperature, because you're using this as a plug, as a placeholder for that empty space after the spreadable cheese sets. You're going to pull it out. So cut a really thick piece, thick, not so thick that it's thicker than any of your cutters, but that it's plenty thick that you'll be able to have plenty of cheese around the jar and still get this out. So I'm going to use this face because I've been dying to use it for something. So, there we go. Very carefully pull it out because you don't want it to crack or crumble. Poke it out very carefully. And there we have a nice thick mouth to go on the jar. I'm going to cut out the eyes down here. I'm making two of the same eyes. I like how this has the little pupil cut out. I always like making that on my jack-o'-lanterns when I carve them. So there's one eye. One more eye. It's hard to push them out. There you go. Another eye. And I'm going to make a little teeny triangle nose, little cute guy. And this one, I'm going to have to push out with something smaller than my finger. So I'll leave that for a bit. Now we go back to the jar, and I'm going to use just a little bit around where the face is going to go, because I need something to hold this cheese in place. To hold the face in place. So that's about underneath the mouth. So I'm going to put the mouth in first. And it's going to go, scoot it right down there. Oops. Yeah, don't let it break. And then spread the cheese right up into there. It's a little more stable. As I said, this is the tricky part. We need a little more cheese in the middle or I'm not going to be able to spread in there. Okay. And keep spreading around. So you've got it locked into place. Once you have it locked into place, hopefully it won't scoot around too much when you actually fill in more cheese around it. So I'm going to see if I can get these scooted. So I want some jar space that doesn't have cheese on it yet to scoot this so that I've kind of, you know, smeared it around. Same thing over here. There we go. Fill in cheese around it again. So then keep filling in around the face with more and more cheese. He's already looking kind of cute like that. Here we go. I have finally finished the cheese ball. As you can see, this is a jar we started with, so I've gotten as much cheese on there as I can, and I still have at least half of all the mixture, so I can make a cheese ball for eating instead of killing the pumpkin and destroying it before everyone can see him. You can see how thick that cheese was for the face, and that I've frosted all the way up to it, and even come over the edge a little bit to make sure I have a good deep cheese face hole. This makes it a little hard to see now. You can try to see if you can get some nice pumpkin-like lines in the cheese, but I wouldn't worry too much about it until you get the face out, because you're going to be handling it after it's set. So now that I took it off my hand, set it on the foil on the little cheese lid, I'm going to go ahead and set this in the fridge to chill until the cheese spread is solid at room temperature again. I've just taken both of the cheese pumpkin balls out of the fridge where they've been sitting for a long time. I had them in overnight, so they're definitely as chilled as they can be. If you want a quicker boost, you can try and stick it in the freezer, but don't let it go all the way to ice, otherwise you might have some interesting melting happening after the water crystals melt again. So this is the one with our face. You can see that I actually filled the cheese all the way up to the edges of the thick cheese plugs I made for the face. I got as much cheese as I could that increased the jar a lot. It's like, you know, pretty thick around the edge, so I used a lot of the cheese, but I still had about half the batch left over, so I made just a solid pumpkin ball to show some variety and to have something else where we can eat the cheese. So I'm going to show you how we can take the plugs out. We're going to do that in the close-up. You can see I already took the nose out as a prep for this. We're also going to put some stems on it, and then we're going to decorate it and arrange it for serving. If you remember, I had set the jar on the lid from the cheese container, and so it wouldn't get knocked against anything else in the fridge, I set it up on top of something so I could actually easier lift it off instead of trying to dig my hands around it from something on flat space. I also have this piece of foil so that I can hopefully not get cheese all over my hands while I'm trying to hold on to it and dig out the face pieces here. So let's see. I'm going to use this because I need something stiffer than a toothpick. So as you can see, we already did the nose. And after it comes out, of course, some of your, cheese ball mixture stuck a bit to the cheese plug. So you'll have to smooth the hole out after you've got the plugs out. So let's very carefully, I keep using this, since I know a stem's going to go here, I keep using this as my anchor spot. So carefully go from a corner. Remember, this one has those little eye holes, the pupils that are there. And gently make sure it doesn't have any lip around it. Gently pull out the plug. There we go, one cheese eyeball. Now see, you have to clean up inside there. There, now you can really see, can't you? You can see where you have to clean up, but it's a lot easier than trying to just carve a cheese face. You could try that if you like. I think this is easier. And this is the way that the Creepy Cuisine contest winner had actually done it himself. So we'll clean that up a little bit. I want to make sure I dig all these out first. Now let's see if we can get this mouth. Now this mouth already cracked into two pieces, so that might actually help us. So it goes this little tooth down here and a tooth in the middle front. Tooth over here. That's a tooth there. There's the edge, okay. Oop. That looks like it's going to pry a lot more away than I hoped. Okay, this is going okay. Aha! Half a mouth. And if the plugs come out in pieces, who cares? They've done their job. It's like the lost wax effect for sculpture. Okay, so now we'll need to do a lot of cleanup here. And I think I'm gonna have to get a little bit of a better angle to do so. So, there you can see, he's definitely got a face. So I have some toothpicks here that might be a little easier to clean up with. When they have the flat edge, you can kind of scoot away some of the extra cheese there. Only if there's some cheese, it's probably going to be a good effect that you won't see the flame directly inside it. Let's see if we can clean up this mouth down here. Not too bad considering. And as long as your fingers are clean, often they're the best sculpting tools you can use. Especially for smoothing. So just smoothing out the edges so they look more like a cut pumpkin instead of globby cheese ball. I'll set it back down there so I can still get around it easier. And you can see all I did with the leftover cheese is I plopped it in a ball onto some plastic film, mushed it into a ball, found a bowl that was pretty close to the right size. It had a good curve like a sphere instead of too shallow a bowl or too pointy. And then I twisted it, which made some grooves like a pumpkin, haha. And then I smushed the top end of the twist down in, which gives it a nice little pumpkin divot. Aha. So when we unwrap it, it should already have some lines and it'll have a divot in the top, and then we can go ahead and use the knife, the spatula, to put some grooves in it. We're going to do the setup and do the final assembly on the serving tray, because you're not going to be able to lift it or handle it very easily after you get it on the tray. So don't forget to light your little candle. Turn it on. These things usually last, fresh one lasts 6 hours, so that should be good enough for your party. So time that for assembly of when you're going to light it versus how long you want it to last. So set that down first. I'm going to take this, even off the little lid this time, so I'm just on the foil. And I'm going to hold it carefully. Peel the foil off, set it over the candle. You can already see he's glowing. Go ahead and turn it. I'm going to have them side by side on this tray here. Now that you've got the jar down, you can scoot the candle around. So now I'm going to carefully peel the foil off the rest. Don't have them sitting on it. Okay, that's out of there. Now we need to clean them up a bit. I'm going to work on the face first. Here, we'll turn him so you can see him, and I can use this top to cover them in. So I'm going to go from the bottom to the top very gently. You don't want to ruin the holes in the face, but very gently, just smooth, using the tip of a rounded spreader like this. By doing that, you put little pumpkin-like grooves. I already tried to do some, you can see before, and those, most of them have lasted through the chilling process and handling, but the ones on the face really didn't get there. So try to smooth it out like that. And same thing on the other side. If you get too much cheese on there, it won't smooth anymore, it'll just be clumpy. So clean off your spreader. There. How's that? You can see he's glowing. Flicker, flicker. Okay, now I'm going to take the normal unglowing pumpkin. Carefully peel off. It's probably going to be pretty sticky, but that's okay. Hopefully it doesn't thaw so much that its shape is lost. Oops. No, don't bonk you. Okay, so this is going to be a little tricky. I'm going to use this as my hand to cover my hand. I'm going to have to plop him right there. Otherwise, this guy's a little squishier. Okay. He's shorter because he wasn't formed over a jar, but he's kind of a cute pumpkin. That's the easiest way to do this pumpkin cheese ball, is to just make it look like a solid pumpkin and then stab it and eat your cheese. But I love this guy who's glowing. Okay, so I'm going to smooth out this guy like I did the other. Just because I like the little grooves he's got, but because of the plastic wrap, it kind of looks a little messy. A little too splotchy for a pumpkin. So I just smooth. Just leaving the grooves, just smoothing the very top surface that it hits. It's looking like a decent pumpkin here, I think. There, not bad. Cute little pumpkin. Before I do the stems, I got cheesy hands, so I'm gonna clean up and be right back. Nice clean hands, good. Okay, so the stem off of a bell pepper is what my friend used to bring his pumpkins cheese balls to my party, and I thought it was the most adorable little stem. What looks a little more authentically like a pumpkin stem, though, is stem off of broccoli. Look at that, it totally looks like a pumpkin. You just have to get one long enough so it looks like a stem instead of the end of a sprig of broccoli. So I'm gonna use one of each so you can see what they both look like. Just cut the, use a sharp knife and be very careful. Cut out the stem, just the stem. You can use the whole rest of the bell pepper for something else. Your veggie tray at your party or salad. Should be able to take this out without too many seeds. Then you just go ahead and cut off the junk that you don't need, because you just need to set this in the top of your pumpkin there. Or just slice it right off. There we go. And I think I'm going to put this guy in this one. That's cuter. So I'm just going to stick it straight in there. Plop. Adorable. And I think, which one? I think I like this guy. It's a nice knobby. Which one's better? Taller, skinnier one? Let's cut them off and see. So to make it look like a pumpkin stem, just cut the fronds off, all the little fronds off, and leave as much of the curvature of the stem sticking out as you can. That gives a much more realistic look. There, you can see it. So do I like that one better, or this one? Let's see. Do we like this one? Or this one? Here we've gotten all the cheese face plugs out of the glowing jack-o'-lantern, and I used the leftover cheese mixture that I still had from putting this around the jar into a little solid cheese pumpkin. I used a little bell pepper stem for that pumpkin, and I still hadn't decided which one to use of these chunks of broccoli. Still trying to figure out which one I like better. Do I like the big chunky stem because it's a bigger pumpkin, or the cute little one? Let's try this. Stick it right there. How's that? all that's left to do is arrange the crackers and serve. If you have any flaws around the base of your pumpkins, this is a nice and easy way to hide. Oops! Don't kill your pumpkin by stabbing with crackers. Not beforehand, anyway. Obviously, you can use any kind of cracker you like. Sturdy crackers are always good for cheese, spreadable cheese like this. If you have any last touches, maybe you speared your poor pumpkin flesh with a cracker while you're arranging them, go ahead and do some touch-up. Any touch-ups around the stems. Of course, if you really could combine the techniques, you could get your face in around the jar, and then, while it's still gooey before it's set in the fridge, you can wrap that in plastic wrap and do a little twist and get some lines in it that way. You're still going to have to clean up around the face after you've dug out all the cheese plugs. You could also try just straight carving if you've got the cheese solid enough around the jar. That might be something better if you tried freezing it. I do think the plugs are an easier technique. My friend who developed this actually tried just carving and had a giant mess, which is why he figured out the cheese plug idea, and I think I agree with him. Of course, in dimmer lighting, you can definitely appreciate the glowing effect. Now you can see why this was one of the Creepy Cuisine contest winners. The glowing jack-o'-lantern cheese ball. I hope you've enjoyed watching today. For more recipes and projects like this, you can buy my book, Enhanced Eerie Elegance. Happy haunting!